Part 3 of the chapter on Indian economy is about Human Development Index. Human Development Index is an important indicator to understand the real process of development in the country. Along with economics, it also speaks about social development of the country. So in this section, we shall try and understand how human development is calculated and interpretation of HDI ranks as given by United Nations Development Programme. The concept of human development focuses on the achieved objectives of development and progress rather than the way they have been achieved. It believes that the real development is the one in which a country creates an environment for people to enjoy long, healthy, and creative lives. It is defined as a statistical tool used to measure a country's overall achievement in its social and economic dimensions, which are based on health of people, their level of education attainment, and their standard of living. Pakistani economist Mehboob ul Haq created the concept of HDI in 1990, which was later used by United Nations Development Programme. The calculation of index combines four major indicators. 1. Life expectancy at birth. 2. Expected years of schooling. 3. Mean years of schooling for education. 4. Gross national income per capita for standard of living. HDI takes the value between 0 and 1. A value close to 0 would mean very low progress as far as the above four indicators are concerned, whereas a value close to 1 means a high progress in the field of health, education, and standard of living. India's ranking in the Human Development Index was 131st in 2016. The first rank being taken by Norway with a value of 0.944. The last rank, which is 188th, had gone to Central African Republic with a score of 0.352. India's HDI value for 2016 was 0.624, which made India fall into medium human development category. UN has introduced fixed cutoff points to group countries into four categories of Human Development Index. 1. Very high Human Development Index with a minimum score of 0.800. 2. High Human Development Index with a score of minimum 0.700. 3. Categories of countries which will be grouped as medium human development index with a minimum score of 0.550, and 4. Lower than that fall in the last group of low human development index. As far as calculation and interpretation of human development index is concerned, it is a geometric mean of normalized indices for each of three dimensions, namely life expectancy, standard of living, and level of education. Though it sounds a bit confusing and difficult, it is rather easy way of calculation. There are two steps to calculate HDI. Create the dimension indices, and secondly, aggregate these indices to calculate the Human Development Index. Dimension indices are minimum and maximum values set to transform the indicators expressed in different units into a devices between 0 and 1. For life expectancy, the minimum value is 20 years. This value is assigned on the basis of historical evidence that no country in the 20th century has a life expectancy of less than 20 years. It means in any given country, a minimum average life of a citizen is going to be 20 years, while the maximum value is 85 years. For education, indices are calculated separately as mean years of schooling and expected years of schooling, for which the minimum value in both the cases is 0, as it is presumed that societies can survive without formal education, which means formal education is not a must. The maximum value for mean years of schooling is 15 years and for expected years of schooling is 18 years. Expected years of schooling refers to number of years of schooling that a child of school entrance age can expect to receive if prevailing patterns of age-specific enrollment rates persist throughout the child's life. It means if child enters the formal education at the age of 5, then under normal condition, that child is going to be under the formal schooling for an average number of maximum 18 years. Minimum years of schooling refers to average number of years of education received by people aged 25 and older. It means if you are considering the population of 25 and higher age, then we are saying that on an average, the maximum number of formal schooling that they must have done is 15 years. The last indicator is the minimum value of gross national income per capita at purchasing power parity 2011 in terms of US dollars is $100 and maximum value is 75,000 US dollars. Now, having defined the minimum and maximum value for all the three dimensions, that is education, life expectancy, and the per capita income, let's see how the actual calculation works. Dimension index is nothing but actual value minus the minimum value divided by maximum value minus minimum value. Now let us calculate the HDI index for India. If the given life expectancy is 68.3 years, mean years of schooling is 6.3 years, expected years of schooling is 11.7 years, and gross national income per capita is $5,663. So if we try to calculate the HDI for India, we start with health index. We take the actual value, that is 68.3, which is the life expectancy in India, subtract it from the minimum value 20, divided by the difference between the maximum and minimum value, which is 85 minus 20, and we get the value of 0.743. As far as education index is concerned, we know it's a combination of mean years of schooling and expected years of schooling. So we first calculate that. The mean years of schooling, if you'll have recorded somewhere, the facts given in the previous slide for India was actual figure was 6.3 minus 0, which is minimum figure, divided by maximum value of 15 years minus 0, which is equal to 0.42. Expected years of schooling, the actual data for India was 11.7 minus 0, which is minimum value, divided by 18, which is maximum. Subtract it with 0 from, subtract 0 from it, because that's the minimum value, which gives us a figure of 0.64. So when we add 0.42 with 0.65 and divide it by 2, we get the education index of India to be 0.535. As far as income index is concerned, is basically the log values of actual figures and the log values of minimum figures divided by log values of maximum subtracted from the log value of minimum figure, which gives us the income index for India to be 0.609. So HDI is calculated as health index multiplied by education index multiplied by income index raised to 1 by 3, which gives us value of 0.623, which is quite very similar to 0.624 as reported by UNDP, while giving a rank of 131 to India in 2016 among 188 countries in the world. These are just the references which have been used while making this slides. Any omission, if any, has not been deliberate.